Yo, welcome back to the channel. It's Kenneth Darnell, but you knew that already. So, just wrapped up chest, um, and honestly, because of like the holidays and like where I've been, I didn't have the best energy today, but I still went in, still showed up, and still fought through the workout. And that brings me to the topic of today's video. What I want to talk about today is how to make this year. It's currently January 2nd, 2026, and yeah, I just want to talk about how to make this year the best year of your fucking life. In this video, not only am I going to tell you how to make this the best year of your life, but I'm also going to stop using the F word. So, let's dive in. In 2024, I had just like came off of a came out of a really bad relationship. Not a really bad relationship, but it was a bad breakup, right? Like I was in a relationship with the girl who I thought like was going to be the girl that like I don't know. I just had higher expectations of this relationship that I was in at the time. And we ended up breaking up, and this was towards the end of 2023. And, you know, that was December 2023. So the new year rolled around, and I was like, okay, I'm going to make this the most intentional year of my life. Right? This was before I read anything about intention or anything like that. I just knew that I wanted to make every single month count. So when I got back to work, at the time I was working at Big Techs, and every day I had a sales target, right? And not by the company, but by myself. I was like, I'm gonna write out specific goals for this month. So I had this wall calendar, but I put it on my desk so that I could like look in front of it, so I could sit in front of it and see it every day, multiple times a day. And I would just write out goals. Now, because my goal in 2024 was to like move out of my mom's house, a lot of my goals were, based around money and improving my credit. And guys, I want to let you know, like, I'm gonna spoil it here, but I ended up achieving everything that I put on those monthly check-ins. Now, there was months where I would set goals and they were pretty delusional. Like, I'd put something like, say, $3,000. Like, there was really no way I could say $3,000, but there were there were many times where I would come close to this delusional goal that I set, which was crazy because it's like, how low do we set our goals sometimes, right? That's just something to think about. But every single month, I had these goals set, right? And before I knew it, by June, I had moved into a new apartment. So I started the month off super intentional, right? January, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna be moving out in June, July, and I ended up doing it. At the time, I probably had like $2,000 in savings. I ended up saving $10,000 within 6 months, and I genuinely believe it was because I was putting an intention out there every single month, and not only that, but I was aligning myself to the intention. Meaning, when I said I'm going to miraculously make $2,000, I wouldn't just go throughout the day and hope and pray that like $2,000 fell in my lap. I started to like find ways to make $2,000. Right, the location I was working at, they were going out of business, meaning they were just pretty much the rent was up, and we had to move to a new location, which I ended up moving to a year later. Um, which ended up working out miraculously because now I'm in the apartment that I have, and it's in a great location, and it's all because that location that I was working at in 2024, they closed that down and moved to where I currently live, which is it's just crazy how things align. But yeah, so I started to like, because that location was closing down, what I was doing was I was putting things on Facebook Marketplace, but I was also buying things from this location. So I would buy trailers, I'd buy flatbeds or truck beds, and I'd sell them to people on Facebook Marketplace, and I'd make a profit. So I was almost like double dipping. I was like double dipping. If you know what double dipping is, it's like when you make twice the commission. So I was making commission from selling the thing to myself, and then I was making commission from then I was making the profit from selling it on Facebook Marketplace for a more of a profit. So I was finding creative ways to actually manifest these goals that I had put down for the month. And that is exactly what I'm doing this year. I feel like last year I was doing that, but I kind of fell out with it. And I don't know why. I really don't know why I fell out with it. I think that's the danger of getting comfortable, right? When you get comfortable, you start to think, oh, I don't have to do the thing that got me here anymore, right? Like, it's just like getting jacked. You can't just get jacked and think you don't have to go to the gym anymore. And I've talked about this in other videos. It's like, if you want to lose weight, right, you can't restrict yourself calories, get down to 10% body fat or 8% body fat, whatever the case may be, and then go back to eating like shit when you were like 200 pounds heavier. You're going to have to turn that into a lifestyle now in order to maintain that 8%. Now, you may be able to like indulge more often than other people because now your metabolism is working differently and it's allowing you to like, eat like that more freely than somebody who has more body fat on them. But that would be dangerous because if you started to do that too much, then you would become the person. You're eating like the person that was 200 pounds or that was 250 pounds, right? So again, you have to turn this new body and the way you eat to the way you started to eat to get the body. You have to turn that into a lifestyle, and that same thing applies to like success in any realm. So I don't know why I fell out with doing that. I think I stopped, being super intentional and like setting an intent for the month. I think I stopped doing that last year around like June, July. But, you know, moving into this year, I have some really lofty goals, guys. I want to buy a house. Um, I just proposed to my girlfriend, so I'm engaged now. I want to have a wedding. I don't know if that'll be this year, but I want to start planning towards that, and I want it to be nice and I want it to be something that's special, right? I have some pretty lofty goals here. Not only that, but I'm starting a business. I quit my 9 to 5 to go all in on this and also all in on this cleaning business that I've started. So it has some really lofty goals, and every single day counts. And if you're watching this, bro, I know that you have the same thing in mind. You want to maybe you want to quit your job. Maybe you want to get this body that you've been saying you've wanted for time and time and time, but you haven't gotten there. But you want this to be your year. And if you're still breathing, and if you're watching this video, well then, brother, I want you to know that it's no coincidence that you found this video. You can have that body, but you're gonna have to fight for it. In the last video I posted, I was talking about how, like, I was talking about how structure beats rigidity, and you know, somebody watched that video and they're like, it's just a season that you're gonna have to be rigid. It's not like gonna be forever. Like you have to be rigid so that you can get to the point where you don't have to be rigid and then you can have the structure. I totally disagree. You're gonna have people tell you this year that what you're doing is not working. And that's true, right? Like no one's gonna deny that. That's obvious, right? But what you have to understand is you have to be willing to fail. You have to be willing to try new things and follow your intuition. But don't just follow your intuition because a lot of you guys don't even know how to follow your intuition. A lot of you don't have your intuition built. But for those of you who have the intuition and you know how to follow, the inner guide, it's really going to boil down to this year is really going to boil down to you doing the things that are uncomfortable, the thing that you've always avoided doing, the things that you always run towards pleasure to avoid having to feel that feeling. For me, it's always been food, right? It's so funny because this morning I woke up, right? And I'm looking at my goals. I'm just like, okay, I'm visualizing these things coming to fruition, right? To kind of replace the fear in my mind. And in me doing that, I sat in silence some more and it made me ask myself, why do we fear things not working out? And the reason why we fear things not working out led me to like going on YouTube and watching an actualize.org video. And, in that video, oh my God, bro, I wish this lady would get the hell out the way, bro. Or is it a dude? I don't fucking know. It's a dude. guys, you don't want to look like this in 2026. Like, thank God he's here. Thank God this guy's at the gym. We gotta up the standard in 2026. But back to the video. Back to the video. So look, me asking myself, why do we fear things not working out, led me to looking at a video by actualize.org. And in that video, he's talking about how, I forgot what he said, but he was pretty much giving like exercises to like replace fear, right? And he was like, in order to replace fear, you should like visualize or imagine the positive outcome instead of, you know, putting so much attention on the negative outcome, because you can only think one thought, you can only focus on one thought at a time. You can only think one thought at a time. So that's how you do it. You have to override the negative with the positive. And then eventually doing that long enough, because you have to do it consistently, right? Like, it doesn't work overnight. Just like working out doesn't like produce you to be ripped overnight. Once you do that, you are now going to start to generate ideals and higher level thoughts from this place. And then I was like, okay, well, that's interesting. Where did these higher level thoughts come from, right? Like, it's the same person, but now they're getting new thoughts. Where are these new ideals that are giving this person, these creative thoughts to like produce a different result that they weren't able to produce when they were in this state of thinking negatively, right? And it just goes back to what I did in 2024, right? When I was write these goals down, it made me think differently. Like, it gave me creative thoughts on how to make $2,000 happen. Um, so yeah, I was like, okay, that's interesting. Like, I have firsthand experience of that. I have firsthand experience of visualizing something coming to fruition, thinking positively, thinking that it will happen, writing it down, making like that's how much conviction I had that it was gonna happen, that I would write it down and make it a goal, and I'd write a checkbox next to it so that I could check it off at the end of the month. Like, I had conviction that it was gonna happen, right? But I was like, okay, so that's interesting. Where do thoughts come from, right? Start watching a couple of videos. I ran into an Eckhart Tolle video, obviously, and and I accidentally click on this video, right? That was like talking about like some type of like Kabbalah religion. And this religion is talking about how like I forget. Like, I probably should have took like some notes about this, but whatever. I end up somehow arriving to this ideal that there's a collective mind, right? And I just finished watching Stranger Things. So, the last season of Stranger Things, you had Will, and he was able to tap into the hive mind. And that's kind of how I perceive like this collective mind. I was like, oh, the collective mind is like the hive mind, where you can plug into this and get ideas from like this just vast collection of like people that's either living or have lived, right? Which is why there's people who have the same genius idea at the same time. Like, there could be someone there was probably a Steve Jobs out there, but he didn't act as fast as Steve Jobs. So now Steve Jobs is the Steve Jobs that we knew him as. But there was someone who had the exact same ideal and concept of Apple that Steve Jobs had. We just don't know about him because Steve Jobs beat them to it, right? But this is how the hive mind operates. And this is where thinking positively and visualizing your goal, you tap into this different sector of the hive mind where you're now producing these images and these ideals and this attitude from this place of the hive mind. So there's lower and there's higher levels of this hive mind, this collective mind. And that's where the thoughts are coming from. But then I was like, okay. But then there was still the question, well, where does fear come from? Like, how does this all tie into fear? And I somehow realized that what we fear is this unsettling feeling. And that's how I got there. Okay, so the Kabbalah in this video I was watching was talking about how the Kabbalah, like, people are constantly like, so the Kabbalah is basically like, it means to receive, right? or something like that. You can do your own research, but basically, Kabbalah is like original on like the art of receiving, right? And so, us as humans, we are we are desire, and we're constantly trying to reach this state of like fulfillment. We're constantly trying to reach this state of pleasure, right? Pleasure and fulfillment. You can say there's the same thing essentially, but here's the thing: pleasure to humans is just the absence of pain. So pleasure is the absence of pain. And there's so many times where we set goals or we do things that just give us the fastest hit of dopamine, and we touch the pleasure, right? We touch the fulfillment. We get to touch it. We get to have like a we get a glimpse of pleasure, but we never fully get to feel pleasure. We never fully embody it. We never become pleasure. We touch it, but we never become it, right? It's kind of like touching a hot stove, right? You touch the hot stove, you have touched the heat, but you haven't touched fire. It's kind of like that. Like you never become, it doesn't set you on fire, but it burns you. And that's how pleasure works. And that's why so many times like you'll set goals or and this is just for people who've actually like accomplished things in their life, right? Like so for me, when I was nervous talking to girls, right? I used to have this goal of dating hot chicks and like being able to approach anybody and blah 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 blah. I finally did that, and I started to. I ended up dating two girls that look like my celebrity crush, which is Mariah the Scientist. If you've been watching the show, you should know this by now. But neither one of these women brought fulfillment to me. Like I thought, I thought life would be better when a girl that looks like this would be in my life, but it really didn't. It actually brought more stress. Like it felt good being able to like achieve that because of where I started, but that was it. Like that was the extent of like the pleasure I got from it, aside from like when we'd have sex and stuff like that. But no, that those experiences, dating those two girls, it didn't change my life. It didn't make me feel like I'm in heaven now. Like no, it's not heavenly. It's not a heavenly experience whatsoever. These women stress me out. Um, I'm stressing them out. Like we're toxic. With that said, I'm sorry I made a video. This video is supposed to be about like how to make this year the best year of your life. I want you to understand that you're gonna have to fight this year, bro. And you may have had some success, and you may have gotten to see what pleasure feels like, but if you really, really, really wanna do something that is really gonna bring you peace this year, whether that's through getting the body that you want. I want you to understand that the body is not going to be the thing that brings you fulfillment unless you feel like it aids you in your purpose, right? Like for me, the reason I feel like I have to have this certain body is because then I can help more people. Then I could reach more people with my words the way I want to. Or I can make better content, which is what I want to do so that I inspire people through like my visuals, through what I think is cinematic and the way I see the world in a cinematic aesthetic way. That's why I feel like I had to get this body. If it wasn't for that, dude, I wouldn't give a fuck about this body. Right? I've already got the girls. I've already like had my fun. Like it ain't even about that no more. It's now about how I can serve. And honestly, that's what took me into the gym today. I didn't want to go into the gym and do chest. I just didn't feel like it. I was still tired. But I closed my eyes and I asked God to wake me up and give me something to kind of just inspire me to like go in this gym and give it my all. I still have days like that where I need that. And what came to me was exactly what I just said. How is God using me? He's using me to bring people together through inspiring them to be the best version of themselves. And in order to do that, I have to go inside and I have to sacrifice myself to what I don't want to do, which is very uncomfortable, which is go in here and do this workout. And I can't try to sedate myself through, you know, food or explicit content on the internet or scrolling. I have to go in here and I have to go through it. And that's another thing you can do to make yourself very, successful in 2026 and have the best year of your life. Stop trying to sedate yourself through, scrolling, through, drama, through, women, through sedating yourself with food and other things that just give you a rush of dopamine. Stop. This can be the best year of your life, bro, but you're going to have to fight. And what you're going to have to fight is yourself. And not yourself in the sense of like, you're always standing in your way, like the way that people always say it, right? People always make it seem like it's you versus you in the sense that like, you're your worst demon or like you're your biggest enemy. But really what it is that's the enemy is like the way you like label things. So for instance, if you were to feel anxiety, right? You would start to feel the nervousness build up and you would start feeling awkward. But the real enemy in that situation is the label you have now tied to it, which is the anxiety, right? Stop doing that in 2026. When things come up like the anxiety, you can understand what it is. Like you can internalize, okay, yeah, this is the anxiety. And then feel where the anxiety is coming from and just sit with it. Don't try to sedate it. Don't run from it. You have to learn how to sit with this uncomfortable feeling within yourself so that you can teach your nervous system that you're not going to die. You're good. Because that's all we really fear is death. And we fear dying to the raw experience of life. That's another thing. I was watching the video and it was talking about like I did honestly I got lost in these videos, bro. Like I watched like 5 of the videos about the Kabbalah and it was talking about like one of the videos was talking about what is the point of life. And after I watched the video, I was pretty much like I came to the conclusion that the point of life is to simply live life. That's the point of life. Live life and just be willing to experience the highs, the lows, the good, the bad, everything that comes with life. Just fucking live it. And that's what you have to do when the bad feelings come up. You have to stop running from them. When the feeling of like anxiety comes up from you reaching out to somebody, I'm in sales, so like this resonates with me. When the feeling of anxiety comes up to you having to like follow up with somebody, like feel that feeling of like the nervousness in your chest or that weird feeling in your throat before you have to like talk to them and like ask for the sale. Feel those feelings, but still act. But give yourself like 30 seconds to like feel those feelings first and then act. And act from the place of like what's real, what's raw, what's actually happening in reality right now, which is that you're nervous and let that be okay. Like, don't run from those raw experiences of life because that's what you're doing when you're trying to sedate yourself with the food, with the um, scrolling, with the playing video games. You're trying to numb yourself to the raw experience of life, and the raw experience of life is not always pleasure. It's painful, but the paradox is that through going through the pain and sitting with the pain, you finally get to embody what real pleasure is, which is life, being alive, feeling the moment, the good, the bad, the ugly. That's real pleasure. It's being alive. And a lot of you guys are afraid of being alive. So if you want to live the best life, if you want to have the best year of your life, if you want to make 26 really fucking count and look back on it going into 2027, if you want this to be the best year, you have to stop being afraid of being alive. Stop being afraid of those bad feelings. Stop being afraid of the pain. Stop being afraid of like the discomfort, and realize that again, this personal development is not one size fit all. You're gonna fail, and that's okay. That's okay. It's okay to fail, as long as you're waking up and you're trying harder the next day and you're being reflective and you're setting these goals, right? Don't let the goal become the thing that now is like the new form of sedation, right? Because that's what I've done. I've I've set goals to, because I feel like I have to. If I'm not setting a goal, then like that's when I start to feel the anxiety of life. But sometimes you do just need to chill. But you have to. That's work though. That's work though. Only some of you will get that. I hope you guys like understand what I'm talking about in these videos. I think my videos are going to be a lot more complex this year. I'm not going to run from, you know, making these raw videos where I'm just talking and talking my thoughts out and I'm not really editing them. I'm not going to run from this. I'm going to see where this takes me. And I'm going to continue to try to break down these like concepts that not everyone's going to get. I'm understanding that only a few of you guys are gonna like really resonate with the shit I say in these videos, and I'm okay with that. But I will get better at delivering them so that more people can wake up to them, and I'll continue to develop this physique so that that is what draws people attention and makes people see that there's somebody out there who has been through what you've been through, bro. Struggle with the same struggles as you, and I've come out on the other end. And here's why. Here's how. So this year is about being intentional and about being the blueprint. I love you guys. That's the vid.